The world narrowed to a single bead of sweat. Staff Sergeant Sloane Maddox watched it roll down the bridge of her nose, hovering at the tip. 52 hours without water. Her tongue had swollen to twice its size, a dead thing choking her from the inside. Through the M40A6's scope, the enemy sniper, Kozak, uncapped a bottle of mineral water and poured it onto the scorched concrete. Steam rose. The liquid darkened the dust for 3 seconds before evaporating. "One bullet, one bottle," Sloane whispered through cracked lips. "Drink or die." She squeezed the trigger. Click. The firing pin struck a dug primer. Kozak's head snapped toward her position, and through the heat shimmer, she saw him smile. The Sadiq industrial complex had been dead for 11 years, but it still smelled like labor, rust, burnt metal, and something chemical that made Sloane's eyes water even through her shemagh. The 6-story steel plant rose from the desert floor like a tombstone, its windows blown out, its machinery gutted for scrap. Perfect Overwatch position, perfect kill box. "Valkyrie, this is Badger, radio check." Master Gunnery Sergeant Elias Sterling's voice crackled through her earpiece. "Lima Charlie," Sloane replied, adjusting the Harris bipod on her M40A6. "I've got eyes on the convoy route, 2 clicks east." "Copy. Setting thermal scanner." Elias shifted behind her, his weathered hands moving with the efficiency of 43 years in the Corps. At 62, he should have retired 5 years ago. But men like Elias didn't retire, they just found new wars. The mission brief had been simple: provide sniper overwatch for a humanitarian convoy moving medical supplies through the gray zone, a lawless strip of industrial wasteland between 2 warring factions. In and out, 48 hours max. Command said the area was clear. Command lied a lot lately. Sloane glassed the terrain through her scope. The afternoon sun had turned the desert into a blast furnace. Heat waves rose from the sand, bending light, making distance impossible to judge with the naked eye. The factory's metal roof radiated stored heat. Sloane felt sweat evaporate from her skin before it could even bead. They'd brought 12 liters of water, 4-day supply for 2 people. Plenty. "You seeing any movement?" Elias asked. "Negative. Dead as..." Sloane stopped. Through the scope, something glinted. 3rd floor of a collapsed apartment building, 700 meters south. She adjusted magnification. "Possible scope reflection. You're 3 o'clock." Elias swung the thermal scanner. "Negative heat signature. Might be glass. Or might be a spotter." "Then they're better than us because I'd be cooking in that pile of rubble." Elias lowered the scanner. "You're jumping at shadows, Val." "Maybe, but shadows kept Marines alive." Hour 6. The convoy was late. Sloane lay prone behind the rifle, her body melted into the concrete rooftop. The M40A6 was an extension of her skeleton. 7.62 millimeter NATO, Night Force scope, 27 inches of precision engineering. She'd named it Mercy during her first deployment. Mercy delivered clean deaths at distance. Mercy never missed. The rifle had been built at the Marine Corps Scout Sniper School, hand-fitted to her specifications. Macmillan A5 stock in desert tan, match-grade barrel with 1:12 twist rate, every component selected for one purpose, putting rounds exactly where she aimed them. The rifle weighed 11 pounds empty. With a full magazine of federal gold medal match ammunition, it was 11 pounds, 6 ounces. Sloane knew because she'd weighed it herself. A sniper who didn't know her weapon's exact weight was a sniper who couldn't compensate for barrel harmonics. She'd made her first kill with this rifle at 963 meters. Taliban spotter in Helmand province. The man had been drinking tea, watching a convoy through binoculars. Sloane had watched him through her scope for 20 minutes, waiting for the wind to settle. When it did, she'd sent a 168-grain hollow point through his left temple. He dropped the teacup before he dropped himself. She'd been 24 years old. That had been 4 years ago. 4 years and 17 confirmed kills later, she was still here. Still lying on rooftops in countries that didn't want her. Still pulling triggers on men whose names she'd never know. Her father would have understood. Gunnery Sergeant Thomas Maddox had been a Marine Scout sniper too. 2 tours in Iraq. 43 confirmed kills. He'd taught her to shoot when she was 8 years old, not because he wanted her to follow in his footsteps, but because he'd said every person should know how to protect themselves. He'd started her on a .22 rifle, plinking cans in the backyard of their house in Virginia. By 12, she was shooting his .308 bolt action. By 16, she was out shooting him. He died 3 months before her 17th birthday. Not in combat, not from an IED or a sniper's bullet. He died from the cancer that eating burn pit smoke had given him. Sloane had sat by his hospital bed and watched him waste away. Watched the strongest man she'd ever known reduced to skin and bone and morphine. The day before he died, he'd grabbed her hand with what little strength he had left. "You're thinking about joining," he'd said. Not a question, a statement. "Yes, sir. Don't do it for me. Do it because you believe in something. I believe in protecting people who can't protect themselves." He'd smiled at that. "Then you'll make a better Marine than I ever was." He'd pulled off his dog tags, the ones he'd worn through both deployments, and pressed them into her palm. "Bring these home safe. That's an order." She'd enlisted the day after his funeral. The recruiter had tried to talk her into intelligence or logistics, something safer. She'd told him, "Scout sniper or nothing." He'd laughed. Women didn't pass Scout sniper school. The washout rate was 80% even for men. Sloane had graduated 3rd in her class. Now she wore her father's dog tags underneath her own. 2 sets of metal identity markers hanging against her chest. Thomas Maddox, Sloane Maddox, father and daughter, both snipers, both believers. "You ever think about what you'll do after?" Sloane asked. Small talk was forbidden during live missions, but the silence was eating her alive, and the memories were worse. Elias sat with his back against the access door, chewing on a protein bar that looked like compressed sawdust. His face was a roadmap of deployments: Mogadishu, Fallujah, Helmand Province, the kind of face that made lieutenants shut up and listen. "After what?" "After the Corps." Elias smiled, the expression cracking his sunburnt lips. "There is no after, Valkyrie. There's just before and during." He took a long pull from his camelback. "Why? You thinking about getting out?" "Thinking about making gunnery sergeant first." "That's my girl." Elias checked his watch. "Convoy's 90 minutes overdue. Something's wrong." Sloane agreed. The mission brief had been thin from the start. Provide Overwatch for a medical supply convoy moving through the gray zone. Humanitarian mission. Low threat assessment. 48 hours max. But the brief had been vague about who was receiving the supplies, vague about the convoy's exact route, vague about everything except the grid coordinates for their Overwatch position. In Sloane's experience, vague mission briefs meant one of 2 things. Either command didn't have good intelligence, or command didn't want to share what intelligence they had. Neither option was reassuring. "You think the convoy got diverted?" she asked. "Maybe, or maybe there never was a convoy." Elias finished the protein bar, crumpled the wrapper. "I've been doing this job for 43 years, Val. You know what I've learned? When something feels wrong, it usually is." "You think this is a setup?" "I think command sent 2 snipers to the middle of nowhere with minimal support and a thin brief. That's either incompetence or intent." He looked at her. "And I don't think our CO is incompetent." Sloane keyed her radio. "Overwatch 2 to base. Request sitrep on convoy status. Over." Static. She tried again. "Base, this is Overwatch 2. Do you copy? Over." More static. Then a voice, distorted and breaking. "Atch 2, Sandstow. Diverted. Extraction. Say again, base, you're breaking up. The radio went dead. Elias was already standing, scanning the horizon. There, he pointed east. The sky had turned orange, then brown, then black. A wall of sand 200 feet high was racing toward them like a tsunami. Haboob, Sloane breathed. Sandstorms in this region could last hours, days. The rotor wash from a helicopter would turn it into a meat grinder. Grab the water, we're moving to. The first bullet hit the water bladder in Elias's pack. The 7.62 millimeter round punched through the Camelback Reservoir with a wet slap, and 3 liters of water exploded across the rooftop. Sloane saw it happen in slow motion. The precious liquid arcing through superheated air, already evaporating into mist before it hit concrete. Sniper! Elias threw himself behind the access door housing. A second round sparked off the metal frame where his head had been. Sloane rolled left, dragging Mercy with her, her mind already calculating angles. Subsonic crack meant the shot came from there, the apartment building, the same glint she'd spotted earlier. Not glass, a scope. 700 meters, you're 3 o'clock, she called. I fucking see him now. Elias had his M4 up, but the range was impossible for a carbine. You got a shot? Sloane settled behind the rifle, her heartbeat spiking. Through the scope, she could see the building's 3rd floor, the shattered windows, the shadows inside. No target. Whoever this was, they knew how to hide. The sandstorm hit like a freight train. 1 second, Sloane could see the target building. The next, the world turned brown. Sand scoured her exposed skin, found its way into her ears, her nose, under her eyelids. The scope lens was instantly coated with grit. Visibility dropped to 5 feet. Inside! Elias grabbed her drag handle and hauled her toward the access door. They tumbled through, slamming it shut. The wind screamed outside like a living thing. In the sudden darkness, Sloane heard Elias breathing hard. She triggered her weapon light. The stairwell was a concrete shaft descending into the factory's guts. Rust stains ran down the walls like dried blood. How much water we got left? Sloane asked. Elias shrugged off his ruined pack, then checked Sloane's. Your bladder's intact, 2 liters. My canteen took shrapnel, but it's still holding. Another liter. He looked at her. 3 liters total. That's 18 hours in this heat, maybe less. Convoy's not coming back in this storm. No. Elias keyed his radio, tried multiple frequencies. All dead. The sandstorm was jamming everything. We're on our own. Sloane moved to the door, cracked it open an inch. The sandstorm had reduced the world to a swirling brown void, nothing visible beyond 3 feet. That shooter. He hit your pack on purpose. What? Think about it. If he wanted you dead, he'd have gone for center mass. He shot your water. Sloane closed the door. He's not trying to kill us quick. He's trying to kill us slow. Elias's jaw tightened. In the dim light, he suddenly looked every one of his 62 years. Then we need to make this place defensible, find water, and figure out who the fuck is hunting us. They descended to the 4th floor, high enough for sight lines, low enough to access multiple exits. The factory's skeleton surrounded them, conveyor belts frozen mid-motion, overhead cranes dangling from rails, blast furnaces cold for a decade. Everything covered in that fine desert dust that got into lungs and stayed there. Sloane moved tactically, rifle up, checking corners. Her mouth already felt dry. The human body could survive 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water. Less in heat like this. The clock was ticking. She did a mental inventory of their supplies. Her M40A6 had 5 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. She carried 4 additional magazines, 21 rounds total. Each round was federal gold medal match, 168-grain boat-tail hollow point. At $20 per round, her combat load was worth $420. The Corps didn't issue that ammunition for plinking. Elias's M4 carbine was loaded with 30 rounds of M855A1 enhanced performance round, the newer green-tip penetrator that the Corps had adopted 3 years ago. He carried 4 additional magazines, 150 rounds total. Close quarters weapon, not ideal for the long-range engagement they just survived, but devastating in confined spaces. Beyond firearms, they had 2 fragmentary grenades each, 1 white phosphorus grenade, Elias's, 6 flex cuffs, 2 tourniquets, 1 IFAK, individual first aid kit, 3 MREs, 4 chem lights, 1 signal mirror, 2 compasses, 1 GPS unit, and, most critically, 3 liters of water. Not enough. Not nearly enough. Got something, Elias called from near a supervisor's office. He was holding a yellowed blueprint, the paper brittle. Factory schematic, look at this. He pointed to a series of blue lines running under the building. Underground water mains. This place had to cool the machinery somehow. Sloane joined him, studying the blueprint. The schematic was in Arabic, but the symbols were universal. Blue for water, red for fire suppression, yellow for gas. The water mains formed a grid under the building, all flowing from a central valve room. Can we access them? Main valves in the basement, sublevel 2. Elias traced the line with his finger, following it from the valve room out to the main supply line. But there's a problem. The valve room is in the building's southwest corner. That apartment building where our shooter is? Direct line of sight to every approach. So he's sitting on our water. Maybe he doesn't know it's there. Sloane moved to the window, staying in shadow. The sandstorm was weakening, visibility improving. Through the brown haze, she could make out the apartment building's silhouette. 7 stories, multiple windows, good fields of fire. Whoever had chosen that position understood military tactics. She pulled out her spotting scope, a Leupold Mark IV with 12 to 40 times magnification. Glassed the apartment building methodically. Ground floor, empty. Second floor, debris, no movement. Third floor, there. She could see the position now. Sandbags stacked in a window. The barrel of a rifle just barely visible. Professional setup. Third floor, 4th window from left, she said. He's dug in. Sandbags. Probable hasty fighting position. Elias came to the window with his own optics. Studied the position. Range? 715 meters. Sloane had already done the math. At that distance, a 168-grain bullet would drop approximately 130 inches. She'd need to dial in about 35 MOA of elevation. The wind was dead now, but it wouldn't stay that way. Desert winds picked up in the afternoon. She'd need to account for a 3 to 5 mile per hour crosswind, maybe more. He's got the advantage, Elias said. Higher position, prepared position, interior lines. We'd be moving across open ground to get to the valve room. Could we go at night? NVGs aren't going to help if he's got thermal. And if he's been here long enough to build a fighting position, he's got thermals. Elias lowered his scope. We need to think about this tactically. What's his mission? Kill us. More specific, how does he benefit from our deaths? Sloane thought about it. He's not military, not current military anyway. The tactics are right, but this whole thing is too theatrical, too personal. Trophy hunter, Elias agreed, which means he wants to take his time, make it hurt. If he just wanted us dead, he'd have put a round through my skull instead of my water bladder. So he's playing with us, which gives us an opening. He thinks he's in control. He thinks he's got all the time in the world. Elias smiled, but there was no humor in it. We make him think he's right. We act desperate. We make mistakes. And when he commits to punishing those mistakes, we kill him. Sloane moved to the window, staying in shadow. The sandstorm had reduced the world to a swirling brown void. Nothing visible beyond 3 feet. Or maybe that's exactly why he's there. Elias joined her. When I was in Fallujah, insurgents used to set up in hospitals and schools, not because they were cowards, because they understood terrain. Control the resources, control the battlefield. He looked at her. Whoever this guy is, he's not some local bandit, he's trained. Then why isn't he moving? He had us dead to rights up top. Because he's waiting. Elias pulled out his spotting scope, scanned the apartment building. He knows we can't leave. No transport, no water, no comms. We're trapped. So he waits for the heat to do his job for him. Sloane felt anger rising through the dehydration fog, but she pushed it down. Anger made you sloppy. Anger made you dead. Her father had taught her that. Fuck that, I'm not dying of thirst in this shithole. Good, Elias smiled grimly, because we're going to kill him first. It took another hour for the sandstorm to fully pass. When it did, the factory looked like it had been scrubbed with sandpaper. Every surface scoured, every piece of glass frosted opaque. Sloane's lips were already cracking. She'd allowed herself 2 small sips from her bladder. Elias hadn't drunk anything. Contact, Elias whispered. Through her scope, Sloane finally saw him. 3rd floor, 4th window from the left. A shape in the shadows. Dark clothing, face obscured. He was moving deliberately, setting something up. A rifle, long barrel, suppressor. Range? 715 meters. Elias was on the spotting scope. Wind's dead. Temperature, Jesus, 38 Celsius. Air density's going to affect your drop. Sloane did the mental math. Hot air was less dense. Less air resistance meant the bullet would fly flatter, hit higher than expected. She adjusted her elevation dial down 2 clicks. Calling my shot, center mass. Send it. Sloane controlled her breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Her heartbeat slowed. The crosshairs settled on the dark shape. Between heartbeats, she pressed the trigger. The M40A6 roared. The buttstock punched her shoulder. Through the scope, she saw concrete explode, 2 feet to the left of target. Miss, Elias confirmed. Heat shimmer fucked your shot. He's moving. The figure disappeared into the building's interior. Sloane worked the bolt, chambering another round. He knows we're here now. He always knew. Elias lowered the scope, his expression dark. Val, I've been in country for 6 months. You know how many sniper teams have gone missing in the gray zone? No. 12. Different units, different missions, all presumed KIA. No bodies ever recovered. He looked at her. What if they weren't killed by the warring factions? What if someone's hunting hunters? Sloane felt ice in her stomach despite the heat. A trophy killer. There's a name that keeps coming up in the intel chatter. Kozak. They say he collects dog tags from snipers. American snipers specifically. Elias touched his own tags hanging under his shirt. They say he turns it into a game. He doesn't just kill you, he makes you suffer first. That's a fucking war crime. War crime requires a war, Valkyrie. This is just murder. Elias checked his canteen, shook it. The water sloshed. We got maybe 12 hours before we're combat ineffective from dehydration. So here's what we're going to do. We find that valve room, we get water, and then we smoke this son of a bitch. In that order? In that order. Sublevel 2 was a concrete tomb. No windows, no light except their weapon-mounted LEDs. The air was 10 degrees cooler but stank of mold and rust. Water had leaked through the ceiling for years, creating stalactites of mineral deposits. Sloane's boots splashed through puddles of liquid that might have been water or might have been industrial runoff. They moved in tactical column, Elias on point, Sloane 5 meters behind, both with weapons up and lights on. The LED beams cut through darkness like knives, creating harsh shadows that jumped and danced with every step. The concrete walls absorbed sound, creating a dead acoustic that made even their breathing seem muffled. Sloane's heart rate was elevated, not panic, training. the body's natural response to entering a confined space with unknown threats. She controlled her breathing, 4-count in, 4-count hold, 4-count out. Combat breathing. It slowed her pulse, sharpened her focus. The hallway was narrow, barely 6 feet wide. If they encountered a threat here, there'd be no room to maneuver, no cover, just 2 Marines in a fatal funnel with nowhere to go but forward or back. Sloane didn't like it. The tactical situation reminded her of Helmand Province, clearing compounds where every doorway could hide an IED or a fighter with an AK. They passed a series of rooms, storage closets, electrical panels, a break room with chairs turned on their sides, and a refrigerator with its door hanging open. Everything was coated in dust and rust. The factory had been dead for 11 years, but the bones remained. Industrial archaeology, the fossils of capitalism. Valve rooms should be ahead, Elias whispered. They were moving slowly, methodically. Every corner was a potential ambush point. Every shadow could hide a threat. Sloane checked their 6 every 5 seconds. Nothing but empty hallway and darkness. But she couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that somewhere in this concrete maze, eyes were tracking them. The hallway opened into a mechanical room. Massive pipes ran along the walls and ceiling, color-coded in faded paint. Red for hot water, blue for cold, yellow for gas. Green for what? Compressed air? Coolant? The labels were in Arabic, mostly faded or peeled away. The room was 30 feet by 40 feet, high ceiling, maybe 15 feet. The pipes converged on the far wall like arteries meeting a heart. And there, in the center of the convergence, was the main valve. There, Sloane pointed. A wheel valve, 3 feet in diameter, connected to the blue main. A pressure gauge above it read 0. Think it still works? Elias moved forward, cleared the corners first. Old habits. Even in an abandoned factory, you cleared your corners. He slung his M4, grabbed the wheel valve with both hands. It didn't budge. Seized up, he said. He planted his feet, pulled harder. The metal groaned. Rust flaked off like snow, drifting down to settle on his boots. Come on, you bastard. The wheel moved. Just an inch. Then another. Metal screamed against metal. Elias's face reddened with effort. The wheel turned a quarter rotation. Half. 3/4. Water hammered through the pipes with a sound like distant thunder. The pressure gauge trembled, the needle rising from 0. 5 psi. 10. 15. 20. The pipes vibrated, humming with sudden life. Somewhere in the building's guts, ancient machinery was waking up. We got flow, Elias said. His voice was rough with exertion. He looked around, spotted an access spigot lower on the pipe, a ball valve with a short length of threaded pipe extending from it. He twisted it counterclockwise. Water coughed out, brown, thick with sediment, rust particles, mineral deposits, a decade of accumulated crud. The stream was weak at first, then stronger as the pressure built. Elias let it run. 30 seconds. A minute. The water gradually cleared, going from brown to amber to clear. Sloane watched the stream, mesmerized. Water, life, survival. She'd never thought she'd be this happy to see industrial runoff. She moved forward, cupped her hands under the stream. The water was cold, shockingly cold. It must be coming from deep underground, from aquifers that had been laid down when this region was still green, before the deserts came, before the wars came. She brought the water to her face, smelled it first, metallic, heavily mineralized, but no chemical taint, no petroleum smell, no ammonia, just water with a high mineral content. She took a small sip, let it sit on her tongue, tasted like iron and calcium. Safe, probably. Sloane drank. The water hit her stomach like a shock. Cold, clean, beautiful. She drank until her belly hurt, then forced herself to stop. Drinking too much too fast after dehydration could cause water intoxication. She'd learned that in survival training. Your body needed to rehydrate slowly. Elias was doing the same, his face pressed almost directly under the spigot. He drank like a man who'd been lost in the desert, which, technically, he had been. "Fill every container we got," he said between gulps. "Bladders, canteens, bottles, everything." Sloane was already moving. She pulled off her assault pack, extracted the camelback bladder, 3 liters when full. She held it under the stream. The bladder filled slowly, the weight increasing in her hands. 1 liter, 2, 3. She capped it, stuffed it back into the pack. Next, her canteen, 1 liter Nalgene bottle. She filled it to the brim, sealed it tight. Elias had his own canteen out, filling it. Then his reserve bottle, a 32-ounce SIG aluminum bottle that he'd carried since Mogadishu. Sloane found an empty plastic bottle in the corner, probably left by workers years ago. She rinsed it out, filled it too. Every ounce counted. They now had roughly 8 liters of water between them, enough for 2 days. Maybe 3 if they rationed carefully. They had water. They could survive. Then the lights went out. Darkness. Total and absolute. Sloane's weapon light snapped on, the cone of LED illumination cutting through black. Elias's light joined hers a second later. "That wasn't a coincidence," he said. "The building's been dead for years. There's no power to cut." Then he did it mechanically. Circuit breaker. Generator. Elias moved toward the door they'd entered through, rifle up. "He's been in the building this whole time." Sloane's heart hammered. She scanned the mechanical room. Pipes. Valves. Shadows. Too many shadows. "We need to move. Now." They went tactical. Elias on point, Sloane covering rear. The hallway felt different in the dark. Longer. The puddles reflected their lights like eyes. Every sound was amplified. Their breathing, their footsteps, the drip of water somewhere in the walls. They reached the stairwell. Elias checked up and down, then started climbing. Sloane followed, walking backward, keeping her muzzle trained on their 6. 4th floor. 3rd floor. 2nd. The explosion was deafening in the enclosed space. Sloane felt the concussion wave before she heard it. A wall of pressure that lifted her off her feet and slammed her into concrete. Her ears screamed. Her vision whited out. When she could see again, the stairwell was full of dust and smoke. The stairs above had collapsed. "Elias!" She couldn't hear her own voice. Couldn't hear anything but a high-pitched whine. She triggered her light. The beam cut through the dust. There, Elias was down, half buried under rubble. Blood ran from his nose. Sloane dragged herself over, started pulling concrete off him. He was breathing, eyes open but unfocused. Concussion. She grabbed his face, made him look at her, mouthed, "Can you move?" He nodded slowly. She helped him sit up. The stairwell above was completely blocked. No way back to the 4th floor. They were trapped on sublevel 1. Sloane's hearing started to return, muffled like she was underwater. Through the ringing, she heard something else. Footsteps. Slow, methodical, coming from the basement below. She brought her rifle up. Elias was trying to do the same with his M4, but his hands were shaking. Sloane positioned herself between him and the stairs. The footsteps grew louder, closer. Then they stopped. In the silence, a voice called up from the darkness. Accented English, Slavic, amused. "You found the water. Good. I was wondering if you were smart or just lucky." A pause. "My name is Kozak. You have something I want." Sloane didn't respond, didn't move. Every instinct screamed at her to fire down the stairwell, but she couldn't see a target, just darkness. "Your dog tags," Kozak continued. "I have a collection. 11 American snipers so far. You will be 12 and 13. Special occasion." Another pause. "I could kill you now, but that would be boring. So instead I give you a choice. Try to escape through the basement. I am waiting. Try to dig through the rubble. You will die of exhaustion in this heat. Or, his voice took on a theatrical tone, you can play the game. Hunter and Hunter. Who is better? We find out together. Sloane looked at Elias. He had recovered enough to shake his head. Don't engage. But Kozak wasn't done. I collapsed the stairs on purpose. Now you must come to me. And I am very patient. I have food. I have water. I have time. You? A low chuckle echoed up from below. Tick-tock, Valkyrie. The heat is rising. Sloane's blood went cold. He knew her call sign, which meant he'd been listening to their comms, which meant, your command sold you, Kozak said as if reading her mind. Did you wonder why they sent you here? To this place? They knew I was hunting. They knew this was my killing ground, and they sent you anyway. His voice hardened. You are not soldiers to them. You are bait, and I am the trap you were meant to trigger. Bullshit, Sloane whispered, but Elias's face told a different story. He looked sick, because it made sense. The vague mission brief, the isolated location, no backup, no extraction plan. Command had known. Welcome to the gray zone, Kozak called. Now we see who survives. Then silence. The footsteps retreated back into darkness. Sloane lowered her rifle slowly. She looked at Elias. His jaw was clenched so tight she could see the muscles jumping. We're not dying in this shithole, she said. No, Elias agreed. His eyes were hard. We're killing that motherfucker first. Hour 14 without sleep. Hour 8 since the explosion. Sloane sat with her back against the concrete wall, rifle across her lap, watching the stairwell that led down to the basement, down to Kozak. The weapon light was off to conserve battery. Darkness pressed against her like a physical weight. Beside her, Elias breathed steadily. The concussion symptoms had improved, but he still winced when he turned his head too fast. They'd fashioned a defensive position from rubble and debris, a semicircular barrier that gave them cover and a clear line of fire down the stairs. You should sleep, Elias whispered. His voice was raw. Can't. That's an order, Staff Sergeant. With respect, Master Guns, fuck your order. Sloane adjusted her grip on the rifle. He's down there, waiting. Which is exactly why one of us needs to be sharp when the time comes. Elias pulled out his canteen, took a careful sip. They'd ration the water, 4 ounces every 2 hours, enough to stay functional, not enough to feel human. I'll take first watch. 3 hours. Then you. Sloane wanted to argue, but she could feel exhaustion dragging at her bones. The adrenaline from the explosion had long since faded, leaving behind a hollowness that made her limbs feel like lead. 3 hours, then you wake me. Promise. She closed her eyes. In the darkness behind her eyelids, she saw her father. Not as he'd been at the end, the hospital bed, the morphine drip, the rattle in his lungs, but as he'd been when she was 12. Standing in the backyard in his marine dress blues, home on leave from Ramadi, telling her that courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was doing the hard thing when every instinct screamed to run. I'm scared, Dad, she'd told him. Good, he'd said. Means you're smart. Fearless people get killed. Scared people who do it anyway, they're the ones who survive. She could almost feel his hand on her shoulder, almost smell the cigarette smoke that clung to his uniform despite the regulations. Almost. Sleep took her. In the dream, Sloane was back in the factory's 4th floor. Sunlight streamed through the broken windows. No heat, no sand, just golden light and the smell of her father's cigarettes. He was standing at the window, looking out at the desert, still in his dress blues, still impossibly young, 38, the age he'd been when the IED found his convoy outside Fallujah. You're not real, Sloane said. Does it matter? He didn't turn around. You're stuck in this place. Might as well have someone to talk to. I'm dreaming. Or hallucinating. Dehydration does that. Now he looked at her. and his eyes were the same gray as hers. "How much water you got left?" "Enough." "Bullshit. I raised you better than to lie." He moved away from the window. Each step echoed wrong, too hollow, like he was walking on a stage set. "That man downstairs, Kozak, you know what he is? A killer. He's a mirror." Her father stopped in front of her. "You think you're different from him? You both do the same job. You both kill from distance. You both convince yourselves it's righteous." He smiled, but it was sad. "The only difference is the flag on your shoulder. I protect people. So does he, just different people." Her father reached out, touched her face. His hand was cold. "Baby girl, you need to wake up now." "Why?" "Because he's coming." Sloane's eyes snapped open. Darkness, the smell of concrete and rust. Reality crashed back like a fist to the gut. She was reaching for her rifle before conscious thought caught up. "Contact," Elias breathed. He was prone behind the rubble barrier, NVGs down, M4 trained on the stairwell. 30 meters, moving slow. Sloane rolled into position, pulled her own NVGs down. The world turned green. Through the starlight amplification, she could see the stairs descending into deeper darkness. And there, movement. A shape, human, crawling on hands and knees up the stairs with agonizing slowness. "That's not Kozak," she whispered. "No." Elias's voice was tight. "It's bait." As the figure crawled closer, details emerged. Male. Combat fatigues, U.S. pattern. Face down, moving mechanically. One hand forward, one knee, other hand, other knee, like a broken toy. Sloane's stomach turned. "He's American." The figure raised its head. Through the NVGs, Sloane could see his face. Young, maybe 25, eyes vacant. His mouth moved, forming words without sound. His throat was cut, not deep enough to kill, just deep enough to destroy his voice. Around his neck hung dog tags, at least a dozen of them, strung on wire, each set catching the green light. "Jesus Christ," Elias hissed. The figure, the victim, continued crawling. Mechanical, trained. When he reached the midpoint of the stairs, he stopped, sat up slowly, extended one hand toward them, palm up, pleading. Then his chest exploded. The gunshot came a half-second after the impact. High-powered rifle, subsonic round. The victim's body tumbled backward down the stairs, leaving a smear of black blood in the green light. Silence. Then Kozak's voice drifted up from the basement, amplified by the concrete. "That was Corporal Miller, U.S. Army, scout sniper. He lasted 3 days before I broke him." A pause. "I wonder how long you will last." Sloane wanted to vomit, wanted to scream, wanted to empty her magazine down those stairs. But Elias grabbed her shoulder, held her still. "Don't," he whispered. "That's what he wants. He killed—" "I know, and we're going to make him pay, but not like this." Elias's grip tightened. "We play it smart, we survive, then we get justice." Sloane forced herself to breathe, in through the nose, out through the mouth. The image of Miller's dead eyes burned behind her eyelids. How many others had Kozak killed? How many bodies were down in that basement? "We need another way out," she said. "There isn't one. The only exit is through him." "Then we make one." They retreated deeper into sublevel 1, away from the stairwell, away from Miller's corpse. Found an old maintenance office. Inside, filing cabinets lay on their sides, drawers spilled open. Sloane's weapon light played across scattered papers. Work orders, safety reports, all in Arabic. Elias was rifling through a metal desk. Looking for, here. He pulled out a rolled document, another blueprint. This one showed the building's full underground structure. 2 sublevels, he said, spreading it on the floor. "We're here, sub 1. Kozak's in the basement, sub 2. His finger traced the layout. "But look at this. There's a utility tunnel connecting to the adjacent building. The apartment complex. The one he was shooting from. Yeah, this whole industrial park was built as a single project. Everything's connected underground. Elias tapped a spot on the map. If we can access this tunnel, we can flank him, come up behind his position. Sloane studied the blueprint. Access point is in the mechanical room, where we got water, which means going back toward the stairwell, toward him. You have a better idea? Elias didn't answer, because they both knew there wasn't one. This was the only play. They checked their weapons. Sloane had 14 rounds left for the M40A6. Elias had 2 magazines for his M4, 60 rounds. Not enough for a sustained firefight, but enough. They moved. The mechanical room looked different in the NVGs. Pipes cast stark shadows. The water they'd accessed earlier still trickled from the spigot, a constant whisper in the darkness. Sloane covered the entrance while Elias searched for the tunnel access. Got it, he said. Behind a bank of gauges, a steel door, half hidden behind a collapsed shelf. He pulled the shelf away, the metal screaming against concrete. The door's lock was rusted solid, hasp corroded into a single mass. Elias looked at Sloane. Step back. He put 3 rounds from the M4 into the lock mechanism. The sound was catastrophic in the enclosed space, echoes hammering back from every surface like multiple gunshots. Sloane's ears rang despite her hearing protection. The lock shattered into fragments of rust and steel. Elias kicked the door open. The tunnel beyond was narrow, 3 feet wide, 7 feet tall. Concrete walls weeping moisture, the surface slick with condensation and mold. The smell hit them immediately, decay, standing water, and something else. Something sweet and rotten that made Sloane's stomach clench. She knew that smell. Every Marine knew that smell. The smell of human decomposition. Oh, fuck, Elias whispered. Sloane moved her light down the tunnel. 20 feet in, she saw the first body. It lay against the left wall, partially propped up in a sitting position. Combat fatigues, U.S. Army digital camouflage. The body was in advanced decomposition, the exposed skin blackened and leathery where it hadn't been eaten by insects. The face was mostly gone, either from decomposition or scavengers, but the name tape was still visible on the chest. Ramirez. Dog tags hung around the neck. 2 of them. Sloane could see the raised letters even from this distance. Ramirez, Marco A. Opos, Catholic. Staff Sergeant Marco Ramirez, U.S. Army. Someone's son, maybe someone's husband, someone's father. Dead in this tunnel for God knew how long. Sloane forced herself to move forward. Professional distance. She'd seen bodies before. Lots of bodies. This was no different. Except it was different because Ramirez had been a Marine. No, Army. He'd been one of them. A professional. A sniper. Count them, Elias said behind her. His voice was hollow. Sloane didn't want to, but she did. She walked forward, stepping carefully around the corpses, trying not to breathe through her nose. The tunnel was a charnel house. Body 2, 30 feet in, female. Marine's digital Marpat. Name tape, Chen. Dog tags confirmed. Chen, Patricia L. ABPOS. No pref. Body 3, 40 feet, male. Navy working uniform. Name tape illegible. Dog tags, Kowalski, James R. BPOS, Methodist. Body 4, 50 feet, male, Marines. Johnson, Terrence D. Oneg, Baptist. Sloane cataloged each one as she passed, forced herself to see them as evidence, not people. Because if she thought about them as people, as Marines and sailors who'd had families and friends and futures, she'd lose it. And she couldn't afford to lose it. Not here. Not now. Body 5, Martinez. Body 6, Okonkwo. Body 7, Diaz. All American, all military, All snipers, she could tell from the equipment scattered around the bodies. Spotting scopes, rangefinders, data books with trajectory tables and wind calculations, the tools of their trade. Body 8 was different. Male, older, maybe 45. The name tape said Hendricks, but that couldn't be right. That was their CO's name. Had to be a coincidence. The dog tags confirmed it was a different person. Hendricks, Robert K., a POS, Lutheran. Sloane photographed everything with her phone. Every body, every name tape, every set of dog tags. Evidence. If they survived this, someone needed to know what happened here. Someone needed to tell these families that their sons and daughters and husbands and wives weren't missing. They were dead, murdered. Body 9, Nguyen. Body 10, Wilson. Body 11, Garcia. 11 bodies, 11 American snipers, all killed in this God-forsaken place by a man who hunted them for sport. All forgotten by a command structure that had sent them here, knowing they might not come back. Command knew, Elias said. He was standing at the tunnel entrance, his face gray in the green light of the NVGs. They had to know. 11 missing sniper teams, and they kept sending more. Why? Sloane's voice cracked. She couldn't help it. Looking at 11 corpses, 11 dead Americans, was breaking something inside her. Because some targets are worth the casualties, Elias said bitterly. Because someone higher up the chain decided that killing Kozak was more important than the lives it would cost. They threw Marines and sailors into a meat grinder, hoping one team would get lucky. That's not how it works. That's not how any of this is supposed to work. Supposed to? Elias laughed, but it was a bitter sound. Val, wake up. This is how it's always worked. Soldiers die for objectives. Sometimes those objectives are hills. Sometimes they're cities. Sometimes they're one asshole with a rifle who's embarrassing the brass. He kicked the tunnel wall. We're not on a recon mission. We never were. We're the bait, the lure. They wanted him to attack us, so someone else could take him out. But there is no someone else, is there? Elias looked at her, and she could see something dying in his eyes. The last remnant of faith in the system he'd served for 43 years. I think they wanted to burn this whole operation, cut their losses, kill Kozak and whoever he captured, eliminate the witnesses. Plausible deniability. 2 more names on the KIA list. Sloane's mouth went dry despite the water she drunk. That's insane. Is it? How many Black Ops missions you think go sideways? How many times you think command decides it's easier to erase a problem than solve it? Elias's hands were shaking, not with fear, but with rage. Remember that CIA site that got overrun in Afghanistan? The one where 6 contractors died? How long did it take before someone admitted it even happened? 3 years. 3 years. And that was with families asking questions, lawyers getting involved, media coverage. Elias gestured at the bodies in the tunnel. Who's asking questions about these guys? Their families think they're KIA, missing in action, maybe POWs. They don't know they're rotting in a tunnel in the gray zone, and command wants to keep it that way. Sloane looked at the bodies again. 11 sets of dog tags. 11 families who deserved answers. We have to tell them. If we survive. When we survive. They found it in the tunnel's midpoint, a weatherproof case, olive drab, stenciled with U.S. Army markings. Inside, a tactical radio, Vox system, high frequency, and next to it, a solar charger. He's been listening the whole time, Sloane said. Every mission brief, every extraction call, everything. Elias examined the radio. Encrypted channels, too. This is JSOC-level equipment. He looked at her. You don't get this from raiding convoys. Someone gave it to him. An inside man. Or an inside agency. Elias powered up the radio. Static hissed through the speaker. He cycled through frequencies. More static. Then, Overwatch 2, do you copy? This is Firebase Actual. Overwatch 2, respond. Over. Elias and Sloane locked eyes. The voice on the radio was their CO, Major Hendricks, calling their designator. Elias keyed the mic. Firebase Actual, this is Overwatch 2. We are alive. Request immediate extract. We have a hostile in the AO. Single shooter. Professional. Over. Silence. Then, Overwatch 2, confirm your status. You were listed as KIA 12 hours ago. Over. Negative, negative. We are combat effective. I say again, we need extract. Over. Another pause, longer this time. When Hendricks spoke again, his voice had changed, colder. Overwatch 2, we have no assets available for extraction at this time. Continue mission, eliminate the target, then proceed to Rally Point Bravo for pickup. How copy? Over. Sloane grabbed the mic from Elias. Firebase, this is Maddox. We found 11 bodies down here. American bodies. Snipers. Someone's been hunting us. And someone's been helping him. How copy? Over. The silence stretched for 10 seconds. 15. Then, Maddox, you are to cease all non-mission communications. That is a direct order. Proceed to target elimination. Firebase Actual out. The radio went dead. Elias looked like he'd been punched. They're not coming. They were never coming. They want us to finish the job first. And if we don't? Sloane thought about the bodies in the tunnel, thought about Corporal Miller crawling up the stairs with his throat cut, thought about her father in the dream, telling her that Kozak was a mirror. Then they'll send more bait, she said, and Kozak will kill them too. They emerged from the tunnel into the apartment building's basement. Different layout, same concrete tomb aesthetic. Sloane's internal clock said it was day 3, 72 hours since insertion. The heat would be apocalyptic up top. They moved through the basement, clearing rooms, found Kozak's camp in what had been a superintendent's apartment. A sleeping bag, MRE wrappers, U.S. military rations probably taken from previous victims, a Coleman stove, a water filtration system, ammunition cans stacked in the corner, 7.62 millimeter NATO, .308 Winchester, even some 7.62 by 54R Russian rounds. This guy was prepared for a long campaign. And on the wall, a map of the gray zone with pins marking locations. 11 red pins scattered across the industrial park. Previous kills. Each pin had a piece of paper taped next to it with a name and date written in neat handwriting. Ramirez, 14th of March. Chen, 22nd of March. Kowalski, 4th of April. Johnson, 19th of April. Martinez, 3rd of May. The list went on. 11 names, 11 dates. Kozak had been hunting here for 8 months, 1 sniper team per month, and command had kept sending them. 1 white pin marked the factory, and written beneath it in permanent marker, Valkyrie and Badger, 21st of June. He'd been planning this for weeks, probably longer. He'd known they were coming before they'd even received their mission brief. Elias photographed everything with his phone's camera. The map, the ammunition, the sleeping bag, the MRE wrappers with their lot numbers visible. Evidence. If they survived, someone needed to know the truth. He pocketed the radio from the tunnel too. More evidence. Proof that Kozak had been receiving intelligence from inside the U.S. military. We need to get topside, Sloane said. End this. Not yet. Elias was examining the camp more carefully. Look at this. He pointed to a corner of the room where a ghillie suit hung on a hook. Next to it, a tactical vest with magazine pouches. He's not wearing his gear, which means he's somewhere in this building right now, probably in light clothing, moving fast. So we have an advantage. Maybe, or maybe he wants us to think we have an advantage. Elias checked his M4, press-checked the chamber. A round gleamed in the breech. Val, I want you to promise me something. Don't. Promise me that if this goes sideways, if I go down, you get out. You take the evidence, you go home, you tell the truth. We're both getting out. Promise me. His voice was hard. Command voice. Master gunnery sergeant voice. The voice that expected to be obeyed. Sloane looked at him. At the man who'd trained her, who'd taught her everything about being a scout sniper, who'd become more than a mentor, who'd become family. I promise, she lied. They found the stairs, started climbing, but Elias stopped on the second-floor landing, held up a fist. Sloane froze. We need to plan this, he said quietly. We go up there without a solid plan, we die. Agreed. Sloane moved to the landing's window. Through the dirty glass, she could see the factory 200 meters away, their original position, the place where this had all started. What are you thinking? Elias pulled out the factory blueprint they'd found earlier, spread it on the floor, clicked on a red lens flashlight, low light that wouldn't ruin their night vision. Okay, we know he's in this building. We know he's mobile. We know he's got at least one rifle, probably multiple weapons, and he's been operating here for months. He knows every inch of this place. So we're at a disadvantage. Tactically, yes, but strategically, we have something he doesn't. What? He thinks we're trapped. He thinks we're desperate. He thinks we're scared. Elias looked up at her. And desperate, scared people make mistakes. So we give him what he expects. We act desperate. We make noise. We expose ourselves. And when he moves to capitalize on our mistake, we kill him. Sloane understood. A trap within a trap. Exactly. Elias traced a route on the blueprint. The factory's north side has a loading dock. Big garage doors. If we can get one partially open, it looks like an escape route. Like we're trying to run. He'll move to cut us off. Right. He'll leave his prepared position in this building and move across open ground to intercept us at the loading dock. That's when we hit him. Sloane studied the blueprint. The loading dock was on the factory's north face. The apartment building was to the south. To get from one to the other, Kozak would have to cross 200 meters of open ground. Maybe less if he went through the tunnel, but they'd collapse part of that with the explosion. Where do I set up? She asked. Elias pointed to the factory's fourth floor, their original sniper nest. Back where we started, full circle. You'll have clear sight lines to the loading dock and to the approach from this building. Range is under 300 meters. Easy shot. If I can see him. You will, because I'm going to make sure he sees me first. Elias tapped the loading dock. I'll be at the dock, visible, making noise, setting off charges to make it look like we're trying to breach the doors. That's suicide. You'll be completely exposed. For about 30 seconds, long enough for him to commit. Then I pull back into cover. Sloane didn't like it. Too many variables. Too much could go wrong. What if he doesn't take the bait? Then we adjust. But I don't think he'll be able to resist. He's been playing with us for 3 days. Toying with us. Torturing us. When he sees us trying to run, he'll want to punish us for it. He'll want to make us suffer for trying to escape. You're betting your life on his psychology. I'm betting both our lives on it. Elias folded the blueprint. But I've been doing this for 43 years, Val. I know how predators think. They can't resist wounded prey. Sloane was quiet for a moment. The plan was risky, borderline insane. But it was the only plan they had. And doing nothing meant dying slowly of heat and dehydration, while Kozak picked his moment to finish them. Okay, she said. When? 30 minutes. Give the sun time to drop a little. Less heat shimmer. Better visibility. Elias checked his watch. 05:30 hours. Twilight. Not quite dark, not quite light. He'll be confident. Overconfident. That's when predators make mistakes. What do you need from me? Get to the 4th floor. Set up behind Mercy. Range the loading dock in the approach route. When you see him commit, when he's in the open and focused on me, you take the shot. Don't wait for perfect. Don't wait for him to stop moving. You see a shot, you take it. First round might not be a kill, then put a second one in him, and a third, and a fourth. Don't stop shooting until he stops moving. Elias stood, slung his M4. Val, I want you to know, if this goes bad, it won't go bad. But if it does, you're the best Marine I ever trained. Your old man would be proud of you, and I'm proud of you. He smiled, but his eyes were sad. Now go. Get in position. I'll give you 30 minutes, then I move. Sloane wanted to say something, wanted to tell him that he'd been more than a mentor, that he'd been the father she'd lost, that she couldn't lose him too. But Marines didn't say things like that, not before a mission. You said them after, when everyone was safe, when the shooting was done. 30 minutes, she said. Don't be late. Never am. Elias turned toward the stairs leading down. And Valkyrie? Yeah, don't miss. They spent an hour planning. The apartment building gave them elevation and concealment. The factory was exposed, a killing box. Kozak would expect them to stay hidden, wait for nightfall, try to sneak out under darkness. So they'd do the opposite. He's been in control this whole time, Sloane said, setting the tempo, dictating the engagement. We need to make him react. How? We make him think we're running. Sloane pointed to the factory's north side. There's a loading dock, garage doors. If we can get one open, it looks like an escape route. He'll move to cut us off. And while he's focused on the dock, I flank from here, take him through the window. Elias nodded slowly. It's risky. You'll be exposed crossing the street. Only for 10 seconds, and he'll be focused on you. I don't like being bait. Better you than me. Sloane tried to smile. Besides, you're tougher. You can take a hit. Gee, thanks. Elias checked his M4, press-checked the chamber. When? 30 minutes. Give the sun time to drop a little. Less heat shimmer. Sloane moved to the window, started ranging distances. The factory's north side was 200 meters away. Easy shot with the M40A6. If she could see the target, if the heat didn't bend the bullet, if Kozak cooperated. Too many ifs. Val. Elias was looking at her with an expression she'd never seen before. Soft, almost paternal. If this goes sideways, it won't. But if it does, I want you to know. He stopped, shook his head. You're the best Marine I ever trained, and I'm proud of you. Your old man would be too. Sloane felt something break inside her chest. Elias, go, get in position. I'll give you 30 minutes, then I move. He turned away. And Valkyrie, don't miss. Sloane descended to the apartment building's ground floor, moved to the east wall, cracked open a rusted door and looked out at the street. 200 meters of open ground. No cover. The sun beating down like a physical presence. Heat shimmer rising in waves that made the factory's walls appear to undulate. She could feel her heartbeat in her temples, feel dehydration pulling at her muscles. The M40A6 felt heavier than it should. She'd eaten nothing but half an MRE in 72 hours. Her body was running on adrenaline and spite. She checked her watch. 28 minutes since Elias's deadline. Time to move. Sloane burst from the building at a sprint. The heat hit her like a wall. Her boots pounded concrete. The factory swam in her vision. Distance impossible to judge. She ran like she was back in basic, like drill instructors were screaming in her ears, like her life depended on speed, because it did. 50 meters, 100. Her lungs burned. Sweat poured down her face, into her eyes. The rifle banged against her back. 150. The factory's shadow fell across her, offering momentary coolness. She slammed into the wall, gasping, vision swimming. No gunshot. He hadn't seen her. Or he was letting her get into position. Sloane climbed the factory's external fire escape, rusted metal that groaned under her weight. Second floor, third, fourth, back to their original sniper nest, the place where this had all started. She set up prone behind the M40A6, bipod deployed, scope covers off. She ranged the loading dock, 215 meters, accounted for the heat, dialed in her elevation. Then she waited. The explosion came exactly 30 minutes after she'd left Elias, a flash of light from the factory's north side, the boom rolling across the industrial park like thunder. Smoke billowed from the loading dock. Sloane saw him immediately. Kozak emerged from the factory's western entrance. He moved fast, sprinting across the open ground toward the smoke. Tactical rig loaded with magazines, rifle up and ready. His face was visible for the first time. Slavic features, scar across his left cheek, late 40s. He looked nothing like a monster. He looked like a soldier. Sloane tracked him through the scope. 200 meters, 190, 180. He was angling toward the loading dock, exactly as planned. She'd have a side profile shot, harder than frontal, but doable. Her finger touched the trigger. The crosshairs settled on his chest. Then Elias stepped out from behind the loading dock. "No!" Sloane screamed, but sound didn't carry. Elias was supposed to stay hidden, supposed to let Kozak commit to the movement. But the old bastard was walking forward, M4 raised, shouting something at Kozak. Kozak stopped, turned, faced Elias. Sloane had the shot. Clear, clean. But her hands were shaking. Dehydration, exhaustion. The crosshairs danced across Kozak's silhouette. She forced herself to breathe, forced her pulse to slow. Between heartbeats, she pressed the trigger. The M40A6 roared. Through the scope, Sloane saw concrete explode 6 inches to the left of Kozak's head. The heat shimmer had bent the shot. A miss. Kozak dove for cover behind a concrete barrier. Elias opened fire with the M4. Full auto. 30 rounds in 3 seconds. The barrier erupted with impacts, dust and chips flying. But Kozak was down, protected. Sloane worked the bolt, chambered another round, searched for a target. Nothing. Kozak had vanished behind the barrier. Smart. He wasn't going to give her another shot. Then she saw Elias stumble. At first she thought he'd tripped, but then she saw the blood. Dark, spreading across his left thigh. Femoral hit. He dropped to one knee, still firing, but his movements were sluggish. Kozak had shot him. From behind the barrier, a blind shot that had gotten lucky. Or not lucky. Skilled. Sloane adjusted her aim. Waited. If Kozak moved, if he showed even an inch of body, she'd... Kozak rolled out from the left side of the barrier. Not the right, where Sloane had been aiming. He fired 3 quick shots. Elias went down. "Elias!" Sloane screamed again. She put 2 rounds into Kozak's position. Both misses. He was moving too fast, using cover perfectly, and the heat shimmer fucked with every calculation. Kozak retreated into the factory. Sloane was already moving. She took the fire escape at a controlled fall, boots barely touching the rungs, hit the ground and sprinted toward the loading dock. The sun felt like it was burning holes through her skull. Black spots danced in her vision. Elias was down, not moving. Blood pooled under his leg, spreading fast. Too fast. Sloane skidded to her knees beside him, rifle forgotten. "Elias! Elias! Stay with me!" His eyes fluttered open, unfocused. "Val, he's good. Shut up, don't talk." She pulled her belt free, wrapped it around his thigh as a tourniquet, cinched it tight. Elias hissed through his teeth. The blood flow slowed but didn't stop. The round had gone clean through. Exit wound the size of a quarter. "You're okay," she lied. "You're fine." "Liar!" Elias's hand found hers. His grip was weak. "Listen to me. Save your strength." "Listen." His voice sharpened. "He's playing games." Trying to make you emotional, angry, that's when you make mistakes. I'm not leaving you, not asking you to. Elias's other hand went to his tactical vest, pulled out a small cylindrical object, a flare. You're gonna drag my ass into that factory, and you're gonna use me as bait. Like hell, that's an order, Staff Sergeant. He pressed the flare into her hand. When he comes, light it. He'll focus on the light. Then you take the shot. Sloane looked at the flare, looked at Elias, looked at the factory entrance where Kozak had vanished. I can't do this without you, she whispered. Yes, you can. Elias smiled, blood on his teeth. You've been ready for years. Just needed to believe it. His hand squeezed hers one more time. Now drag me inside and kill that motherfucker. The factory's interior was dark. The sun angle had shifted, leaving most of the space in shadow. Sloane dragged Elias by his vest's drag handle, the weight immense, her muscles screaming. She moved toward the center of the factory floor, the most open, most exposed position. Perfect bait. She propped Elias against a concrete pillar. He was fading in and out of consciousness, skin gray, breathing shallow. The tourniquet had slowed the bleeding but not stopped it. He needed a hospital, a surgeon, a miracle. He needed things this place couldn't provide. Sloane moved 20 meters away into the shadows of a collapsed walkway. Set up prone with the M40A6, sighted in on Elias's position. The flare was in her left hand, striker cap removed. Then she waited. Minutes crawled past. The only sound was Elias's labored breathing and the tick of metal expanding in the heat. Sloane's throat felt like sandpaper. Her vision kept trying to tunnel. She blinked hard, forced herself to focus. Movement. Upper level. A shadow shifting. I know you're there, Kozak called down. His voice echoed through the space. And I know what you're doing. The wounded man, the hidden shooter. Very traditional. Sloane didn't respond, didn't move. Your master gunnery sergeant is dying, Kozak continued. Maybe 30 minutes, maybe less. Femoral bleeds are tricky. A pause. I can help him. I have medical supplies, proper tourniquets, even blood expanders. All you have to do is surrender. Fuck you, Elias rasped. Ah, he speaks. Tell me, old soldier, how many men have you killed? 50? 100? And now you die in this place, forgotten, because your command decided you were expendable. Kozak's silhouette appeared at a third-floor window. Backlit, no clear shot. We are the same, you and I. We both kill for masters who do not care if we live or die. Not the same, Elias said. I fight for something. For what? A flag? A politician's speech? An oil pipeline? Kozak laughed. I fight for money. At least I am honest about it. Sloane saw him shift, moving to a different window. She tracked him with the rifle. Still no shot. He was too smart, staying in shadows, using angles. Valkyrie, Kozak called. That's your call sign, yes? The chooser of the slain. Very dramatic. Another shift, another window. Your father was also a Marine, Gunnery Sergeant Maddox, killed by an IED outside Fallujah. You were 16. Sloane's blood went cold. I do my research, Kozak said. You joined the Corps to honor him, to continue his legacy. But what do you think he would say if he saw you now? Hiding in the dark, letting your mentor bleed out, all because you're too afraid to take a shot. Don't listen, Elias whispered. But Sloane's hands were shaking. The crosshairs danced across the windows. Too many positions, too many angles. She couldn't cover them all. I'll make you a deal, Kozak said. His voice came from a different location now. He was moving constantly, making himself impossible to pin down. You and I, face to face, no tricks, just skill. Winner takes the dog tags. Loser dies. Your mentor, I will let him live. I will even call for medical evacuation. Do we have agreement? Sloane's finger hovered over the flare's striker. Don't do it, Elias said. His voice was barely audible. He's lying. He'll kill us both. But Sloane was thinking about Corporal Miller, about the 11 bodies in the tunnel, about all the other Marines who'd die if she didn't end this here and now. She struck the flare. Red light exploded through the factory. Brilliant. Blinding. It hit the concrete pillar next to Elias like a spotlight, illuminating everything within 20 feet. Kozak took the bait. She saw the muzzle flash from the 4th floor, heard the supersonic crack. The round hit Elias in the chest. His body jerked, went still. Sloane was already firing. 3 rounds, fast, at the muzzle flash location. She saw the 4th floor window frame explode, saw a shadow fall back. Then silence. She'd hit him. She knew it. Sloane grabbed a fresh magazine, reloaded, kept the crosshairs on the window, waiting for movement, waiting for confirmation. Nothing. 60 seconds. 2 minutes. Still nothing. Sloane low-crawled toward Elias. The flare still burned, turning everything red. She reached the pillar. Elias's eyes were open, staring at nothing. The round had caught him center mass, through the heart. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." His hand was still warm. Sloane closed his eyes, took his dog tags, added them to her own. Then she stood, picked up her rifle, and walked toward the stairs. Time to finish this. Blood trail, dark, fresh, leading away from the window where she'd shot Kozak. Sloane followed it with the rifle up, weapon light on, clearing corners. The blood drops were spaced far apart. He was mobile, wounded but functional, dangerous. The trail led to a storage room, door half open. Sloane approached from the side, staying out of the fatal funnel. Listened, breathing, labored, in pain. She kicked the door open, rifle up. Kozak sat against the far wall. His left shoulder was destroyed. The round had caught him high, probably breaking his clavicle. His rifle lay on the floor, 3 feet away. Blood soaked his shirt, but his right hand held a pistol, aimed at the door. They stared at each other. "You're good," Kozak said. His accent was thicker now, stress breaking through the practiced English. "Better than the others." "Drop the pistol." "Or what? You shoot me? I'm already shot." He smiled, blood on his teeth. "Besides, you want answers. You want to know who gave me the radio, who told me you were coming. I don't need answers from you." "No?" Kozak gestured weakly at his tactical vest. "Front pocket, satellite phone. Speed dial 1, call it, see who answers." Sloane didn't move. "This is a trick. If I wanted to kill you, I would have already." Kozak's gun hand wavered. The pistol lowered slightly. "Make the call, or shoot me. Either way, this ends." Sloane kept the rifle trained on him, stepped forward, kicked his rifle further away, reached slowly for his vest's front pocket, pulled out a satellite phone, thumbprint locked. Kozak smiled. "Use my thumb." She grabbed his right hand, pressed his thumb to the scanner. The phone unlocked. Speed dial 1. She hit call, put it on speaker. 3 rings, then, "Kozak, report." Sloane's world tilted. She knew that voice. Major Hendricks, her commanding officer. "This is Staff Sergeant Maddox," she said. Her voice sounded dead. "Kozak is neutralized. Master Gunnery Sergeant Sterling is KIA. And you're going to tell me why." Silence on the line. Then, "Maddox, listen carefully. The operation you're on is classified above your pay grade. Return to Rally Point Bravo. We'll debrief when you're extracted." "Debrief?" Sloane laughed. It sounded hysterical. "You sent us to die. You gave him our call signs, our position, everything." "That's not. There are 11 bodies in the tunnel." Sloane was screaming now. 11 American snipers. And you kept sending more. Why?" Another pause. When Hendrik spoke again, his voice was ice. Sometimes soldiers are sacrificed for the greater good. Kozak was a high-value target. We needed him to reveal himself. You were the bait that worked. And Elias? Acceptable losses. No emotion, no hesitation. You have your orders, Staff Sergeant. Exfiltrate to Rally Point Bravo. That's final. The line went dead. Sloane looked at Kozak. He was still smiling, even as blood ran from his mouth. You see, he said, we are the same. Both abandoned, both betrayed. He coughed. So what now, Valkyrie? You kill me? Prove their point? Or you let me live? And we both tell the world the truth? Sloane raised the M40A6, centered the crosshairs on his forehead. I'm not like you, she said. Then what are you? She thought about her father, about Elias, about all the Marines who died in this place because someone decided their lives were worth less than a mission objective. I'm the one who survives, she said, and pulled the trigger. They spent an hour planning. The apartment building gave them elevation and concealment. The factory was exposed, a killing box. Kozak would expect them to stay hidden, wait for nightfall, try to sneak out under darkness. So they'd do the opposite. He's been in control this whole time, Sloane said. They were in the third-floor room where Kozak had taken his first shot. The ghillie suit still hung on the chair like a shed skin. Setting the tempo, dictating the engagement. We need to make him react. How? We make him think we're running. Sloane pointed to the factory's north side, visible through the window. There's a loading dock, garage doors. If we can get one open, it looks like an escape route. He'll move to cut us off. And while he's focused on the dock, I flank from here. Take him through the window. Elias nodded slowly. It's risky. You'll be exposed crossing the street. Only for 10 seconds, and he'll be focused on you. I don't like being bait. Better you than me, Sloane tried to smile. Besides, you're tougher. You can take a hit. Gee, thanks. Elias checked his M4, press-checked the chamber. A round gleamed in the breech. When? 30 minutes. Give the sun time to drop a little. Less heat shimmer. Sloane moved to the window, started ranging distances. The factory's north side was 200 meters away. Easy shot with the M40A6. If she could see the target. If the heat didn't bend the bullet. If Kozak cooperated. Too many ifs. Val. Elias was looking at her with an expression she'd never seen before. Soft. Almost paternal. If this goes sideways, it won't. But if it does, I want you to know. He stopped, shook his head. You're the best Marine I ever trained, and I'm proud of you. Your old man would be too. Sloane felt something break inside her chest. Not fear, something deeper. The knowledge that this might be the last conversation they ever had. That in 30 minutes, one or both of them might be dead. Elias, go, get in position. I'll give you 30 minutes, then I move. He turned away, but not before she saw his eyes were wet. And Valkyrie, don't miss. Sloane descended to the apartment building's ground floor, moved to the east wall. The door was rusted metal, corroded by decades of desert weather. She cracked it open an inch and looked out at the street. 200 meters of open ground. No cover, just broken concrete and sand. The sun was lower now, maybe 30 degrees above the horizon, but still brutal. Heat shimmer rose in waves that made the factory's walls appear to undulate like living things. She could feel her heartbeat in her temples, feel dehydration pulling at her muscles like invisible hands. The M40A6 felt heavier than it should, the 11 pounds dragging at her shoulder. She'd eaten nothing but half an MRE in 72 hours. Her body was running on adrenaline and spite, and the memory of her father's voice telling her that scared people who do it anyway are the ones who survive. She checked her watch. 28 minutes since Elias's deadline. Time to move. Sloane burst from the building at a sprint. The heat hit her like a physical wall. The air was thick, soupy, hard to breathe. Her boots pounded concrete, each impact jolting up through her legs. The rifle banged against her back. Her assault pack felt like it weighed 100 pounds. 50 meters. The factory seemed to recede with each step, like she was running on a treadmill. 100. Her lungs burned. Sweat poured down her face, into her eyes, stinging. She blinked hard, kept running. 150. Almost there. The factory's shadow fell across her, offering momentary relief from the direct sun. She slammed into the wall, gasping, vision swimming with black spots. Her hands were shaking. Her legs felt like rubber. No gunshot. He hadn't seen her. Or he was letting her get into position, waiting to spring his own trap. Sloane climbed the factory's external fire escape, rusted metal that groaned under her weight, each step announcing her presence. Second floor, third, fourth. Back to their original sniper nest, the place where this had all started 3 days and a lifetime ago. The rooftop was exactly as they'd left it. Bloodstain from Elias's ruptured water bladder, scuff marks where they'd taken cover, spent brass from her first shot, the one that had missed Kozak by 2 feet. She set up prone behind the M40A6, bipod deployed, scope covers off, checked the magazine, 5 rounds plus 1 in the chamber. 6 shots. She'd need to make them count. Sloane ranged the loading dock, 215 meters. The heat shimmer was still bad, but better than midday. She dialed in her elevation, 32 MOA to account for bullet drop. Wind was negligible, maybe 2 miles per hour from the east, half MOA of correction. She settled in behind the scope, controlled her breathing, waited. The explosion came exactly 30 minutes after she'd left Elias. A flash of light from the factory's north side. Then the boom, rolling across the industrial park like thunder. Smoke billowed from the loading dock, black, greasy, chemical. Elias had used a thermite grenade. The smoke would provide concealment and look like they were trying to breach the garage doors. Through her scope, Sloane scanned for Kozak. Nothing. The apartment building's windows were dark, empty. 10 seconds. 20. Then she saw him. Kozak emerged from a ground floor door on the apartment building's west side. He moved fast, sprinting across the open ground toward the smoke. He wore light clothing now, not the tactical gear from before. Black shirt, cargo pants, plate carrier, rifle up and ready, looked like a Remington 700 with a heavy barrel. Professional setup. His face was visible for the first time. Slavic features, sharp cheekbones, scar across his left cheek. Late 40s, maybe early 50s, gray at the temples. He looked nothing like a monster. He looked like someone's father, someone's husband. He looked like a soldier. Sloane tracked him through the scope. 200 meters, 190, 180. He was angling toward the loading dock exactly as planned. She'd have a side profile shot in about 5 seconds. Not ideal, smaller target area than frontal, but doable. Her finger touched the trigger. The crosshairs settled on his chest, tracking his movement. Lead the target. Account for his speed. He was moving at maybe 6 miles per hour. At this range, she'd need to aim about 8 inches ahead of him. She adjusted. Breathed. The crosshairs danced slightly. Her hands weren't as steady as they should be. Dehydration, exhaustion, fear. Between heartbeats, she pressed the trigger. The M40A6 roared. The buttstock punched her shoulder. Through the scope, she saw concrete exploding. 6 inches behind Kozak's back. A miss. The heat shimmer had bent the shot, the same phenomenon that had caused her first miss 3 days ago. Hot air rising from the superheated concrete, creating invisible currents that pushed the bullet off course. Kozak dove for cover behind a concrete barrier. Fuck! Sloane worked the bolt, chambered another round, searched for a target. From the loading dock, she heard Elias open fire. The M4's distinctive crack, crack, crack Full auto, 30 rounds in 3 seconds. The concrete barrier erupted with impacts, dust and chips flying. But Kozak was down, protected, smart. Sloane adjusted her aim, waited for him to move, waited for any part of him to show. Nothing. Then she saw Elias stumble. At first she thought he'd tripped, maybe caught his boot on debris. But then she saw the blood, dark, spreading across his left thigh. High up, femoral area. He'd been hit. Kozak had shot him. From behind the barrier, a blind shot, firing without exposing himself, that had gotten lucky. Or not lucky, skilled. Elias dropped to one knee. He was still firing, still putting rounds downrange, but his movements were sluggish. Wrong. He was hit bad. "Elias!" Sloane screamed, but sound didn't carry. He couldn't hear her, couldn't hear anything over the gunfire. She put the crosshairs on Kozak's last position, waited. If he moved, if he showed even an inch of body, she'd... Kozak rolled out from the left side of the barrier. Not the right, where Sloane had been aiming. Not where any reasonable person would expect. He rolled left, came up in a crouch, and fired 3 quick shots. Sloane saw the muzzle flashes, saw Elias's body jerk. Once, twice, 3 times. He went down, flat, unmoving. "No!" Sloane fired, worked the bolt, fired again. Both shots hit where Kozak had been, but he was already moving, using the smoke, using the barriers, professional movement. He knew she was up here, knew her position. He was making himself impossible to hit. 2 rounds left in the magazine. Kozak retreated into the factory's ground floor, disappeared into the shadows. Sloane was already moving. She grabbed the rifle, rolled to her feet, and ran for the fire escape. Took the stairs 3 at a time, boots ringing on metal, hit the ground and sprinted toward the loading dock. The distance had never seemed so far. 200 meters might as well have been 2 miles. Her legs felt like concrete, her lungs burned. The rifle banged against her legs with each step. She reached Elias and dropped to her knees beside him. Blood everywhere. 3 entry wounds, left thigh, right shoulder, center mass. The chest wound was bad, really bad. Sucking chest wound, air bubbling through blood with each breath. "Elias, Elias, stay with me." She pulled her med kit, ripped it open. Chest seals. She needed chest seals. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely open the package. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused, pupils dilated. "Val." His voice was wet, gurgling. "He's good. Shut up, don't talk." She got the chest seal open, peeled off the backing, pressed it over the sucking wound. It stuck to the blood-slick skin. She pressed harder, trying to create a seal. "You're okay, you're fine." Liar. His hand found hers. The grip was weak. "Listen to me. Save your strength. No time." He coughed, blood on his lips. "He's playing games, trying to make you emotional, angry. That's when you make mistakes. I'm not leaving you. Not asking you to." His other hand went to his tactical vest, pulled out a small cylindrical object, a flare. Marine Corps issue, Red Star cluster. "You're gonna use me as bait." "Like hell." "That's an order, Staff Sergeant." He pressed the flare into her hand. His fingers were cold despite the heat. "When he comes, light it. He'll focus on the light. Then you take the shot." Sloane looked at the flare, looked at Elias, looked at the factory entrance where Kozak had vanished. "I can't do this without you," she whispered. "Yes, you can." Elias smiled, blood on his teeth, red mixing with white. "You've been ready for years, just needed to believe it." His hand squeezed hers one more time, weak, fading. "Now drag me inside and kill that motherfucker." The factory's interior was dark after the brutal sunlight outside. Sloane's eyes struggled to adjust. She dragged Elias by his vest's drag handle, moving toward the center of the factory floor. The most open position, the most exposed. Perfect bait. She propped him against a concrete pillar. He was fading in and out of consciousness now. His breathing was shallow, rapid. The chest seal was holding, but barely. He needed a hospital, a surgeon, a trauma team. He needed things this place couldn't provide. Sloane moved 20 meters away, into the shadows of a collapsed walkway, set up prone with the M40A6. She had 2 rounds left in this magazine. She pulled her last full magazine from her vest. 5 more rounds, 7 shots total. She'd need to make them count. The flare was in her left hand, striker cap removed, ready to light. She sighted in on Elias's position, the crosshairs steady on the pillar. Anyone approaching him would have to cross her line of fire. Then she waited. Minutes crawled past. The only sound was Elias's labored breathing and the tick of metal cooling in the evening air. Sloane's throat felt like sandpaper. Her head pounded. Dehydration headache. She drank water, but not enough. Never enough. Movement. Upper level. 3rd floor. A shadow shifting against deeper shadows. "I know you're there," Kozak called down. His voice echoed through the factory skeleton. "And I know what you're doing. The wounded man, the hidden shooter. Very traditional." Sloane didn't respond, didn't move. She kept the crosshairs steady, waiting. "Your master gunnery sergeant is dying," Kozak continued. His voice was calm, conversational, like he was discussing the weather. "Maybe 30 minutes, maybe less. Femoral bleeds are tricky. Chest wounds even worse. He's drowning in his own blood right now. Do you know what that feels like?" Sloane's jaw clenched. "Don't respond. Don't engage." "I can help him," Kozak said. "I have medical supplies, proper trauma kits, even blood expanders, Israeli bandages. All you have to do is surrender. Put down your rifle. Walk out with your hands up. I'll treat his wounds. I'll even call for medical evacuation on the radio I took from one of your predecessors." "Fuck you," Elias rasped, his voice barely carried. "Ah, he speaks. Tell me, old soldier, how many men have you killed? 50? 100? And now you die in this place, forgotten, because your command decided you were expendable." Kozak's silhouette appeared at a 3rd-floor window, backlit by the dying sun. No clear shot, just a shape. "We are the same, you and I. We both kill for masters who do not care if we live or die." "Not the same," Elias said. "I fight for something." "For what? A flag? A politician's speech? An oil pipeline?" Kozak laughed. The sound echoed. "I fight for money. At least I am honest about it." Sloane saw him shift, moving to a different window. She tracked him with the rifle. Still no shot. He was too smart, staying in shadows, using angles. "Valkyrie," Kozak called. "That's your call sign, yes? The chooser of the slain. Very dramatic." Another shift. Another window. "Your father was also a Marine. Gunnery Sergeant Thomas Maddox. Killed by cancer from burn pit exposure. You were 16. Sloane's blood went cold. How did he know that? "I do my research," Kozak said, as if reading her mind. "You joined the Corps to honor him, to continue his legacy. 17 confirmed kills in 4 years. Very impressive. But what do you think he would say if he saw you now? Hiding in the dark, letting your mentor bleed out, all because you're too afraid to take a shot." "Don't listen," Elias whispered. But Sloane's hands were shaking. The crosshairs danced across the windows. Too many positions, too many angles. She couldn't cover them all. "I'll make you a deal," Kozak said. His voice came from a different location now. 4th floor. He was moving constantly, making himself impossible to pin down. "You and I, Face to face. No tricks, just skill. Winner takes the dog tags, loser dies. Your mentor, I will let him live. I will even call for medical evacuation. Do we have agreement? Sloane's finger hovered over the flare's striker. Don't do it, Elias said. His voice was barely audible. He's lying. He'll kill us both. But Sloane was thinking about Corporal Miller, about the 11 bodies in the tunnel, about all the other Marines who'd die if she didn't end this here and now. She struck the flare. Red light exploded through the factory. Brilliant, blinding. Chemical fire hissing and spitting sparks. It hit the concrete pillar like a spotlight, illuminating everything within 20 feet. Elias's body, the blood, the dying man used as bait. Kozak took it. She saw the muzzle flash from the 4th floor, heard the supersonic crack. The round hit Elias in the chest. His body jerked once, then went still. Sloane was already firing. 3 rounds, fast, at the muzzle flash location. She saw the 4th floor window frame explode into concrete dust, saw a shadow fall back. Hit. She knew it, felt it. She worked the bolt, ejected the magazine, loaded her last one, 5 rounds, waited. Nothing. 60 seconds, 2 minutes. The flare sputtered, starting to die. Still nothing. Sloane low-crawled toward Elias. The red light cast everything in hellish illumination. She reached the pillar. Elias's eyes were open, staring at nothing. The round had caught him center mass. Through the heart, he was gone. Sloane closed his eyes with 2 fingers, took his dog tags, added them to her own. 2 sets now, father and mentor. Both dead, both gone. She stood, picked up her rifle, and walked toward the stairs. Time to finish this. Blood trail, dark, fresh, leading away from the window where she'd shot Kozak. Sloane followed it with the rifle up, weapon light on, clearing corners. The blood drops were spaced far apart, 6 to 8 inches. He was mobile, wounded but functional. Still dangerous, maybe more dangerous now. Wounded animals fought hardest. The trail led to a storage room, door half open. Sloane approached from the side, staying out of the fatal funnel, the cone of death directly in front of the doorway. She listened, breathing, labored, in pain. She kicked the door open, rifle up, finger on trigger. Kozak sat against the far wall. His left shoulder was destroyed. Sloane's round had caught him high, shattering the clavicle. Bone fragments visible through torn flesh. His rifle lay on the floor, 3 feet away, too far to reach quickly. Blood soaked his shirt, dripping onto the concrete, but his right hand held a pistol, Glock 19, aimed at the door, aimed at her. They stared at each other. "You're good," Kozak said finally. His accent was thicker now, stress breaking through the practiced English. "Better than the others, better than I expected." "Drop the pistol." "Or what? You shoot me? I'm already shot." He smiled, blood on his teeth. "Besides, you want answers. You want to know who gave me the radio, who told me you were coming, who has been helping me kill American snipers for 8 months. I don't need answers from you." "No?" Kozak gestured weakly at his tactical vest with his left hand. The movement made him wince. "Front pocket, satellite phone, speed dial 1, call it, see who answers." Sloane didn't move. "This is a trick. If I wanted to kill you, I would have already." Kozak's gun hand wavered. The Glock lowered slightly. "Make the call, or shoot me. Either way, this ends." Sloane kept the rifle trained on his center mass, stepped forward, kicked his rifle further away, sent it skittering across the floor, reached slowly for his vest's front pocket. Her eyes never left his gun hand. She found the satellite phone, Iridium 9575, expensive, encrypted. She pulled it out, thumbprint locked. Kozak smiled. "Use my thumb." She grabbed his left hand, the wounded side. He hissed in pain but didn't resist. She pressed his thumb to the scanner. The phone unlocked. Speed dial 1 was labeled simply, "Handler." Sloane hit call, put it on speaker, 3 rings. Then, "Kozak, report." The world tilted. She knew that voice. Major Daniel Hendricks, her commanding officer. The man who'd given them this mission. The man who'd sent them here. "This is Staff Sergeant Sloane Maddox," she said. Her voice sounded dead even to her own ears. "Kozak is neutralized. Master Gunnery Sergeant Sterling is KIA, and you're going to tell me why." Silence on the line. 5 seconds. 10. Then, "Maddox, listen carefully. The operation you're on is classified above your pay grade. You are to cease all communication and return to Rally Point Bravo immediately. We'll debrief when you're extracted. Do you copy?" "Debrief?" Sloane laughed. It sounded hysterical, unhinged. "You sent us to die. You gave him our call signs, our position, our mission timeline, everything. That's not— There are 11 bodies in the tunnel." Sloane was screaming now, rifle still trained on Kozak, but her focus on the phone. 11 American snipers, 11 sets of dog tags, and you kept sending more. Why? Another pause. When Hendricks spoke again, his voice was different, colder, the voice of a man doing arithmetic with human lives. "Sometimes soldiers are sacrificed for strategic objectives. Kozak was eliminating high-value assets. We needed him to reveal his position and methods. You were the bait that worked. Mission accomplished." "And Elias?" "Acceptable losses. No emotion. No hesitation. You have your orders, Staff Sergeant. Exfiltrate to Rally Point Bravo. You have 6 hours. If you don't show, we'll assume you're KIA and move on. That's final." The line went dead. Sloane lowered the phone slowly, looked at Kozak. He was still smiling, even as blood ran from his mouth. "You see," he said, "we are the same. Both abandoned, both betrayed. Both just tools for men in air-conditioned offices." He coughed. "So what now, Valkyrie? You kill me? Prove their point? Make me just another number in their report? Or," he paused, "you let me live. We both tell the world what they did. We both expose them." Sloane raised the M40A6, centered the crosshairs on his forehead. "I'm not like you," she said. "Then what are you?" She thought about her father, about Elias, about 11 Marines and sailors rotting in a tunnel because someone had decided their lives were worth less than a mission objective, about Corporal Miller crawling upstairs with his throat cut, about all of them. "I'm the one who survives," she said, and pulled the trigger. The rifle roared. The 168-grain hollow point entered Kozak's forehead at 2,750 feet per second and exited through the back of his skull, taking most of his brain with it. He slumped sideways, dead before his body hit the floor. Sloane lowered the rifle, took his dog tags, added them to her collection. 3 sets now. Then she took the satellite phone and walked out of the factory. Outside, the sun was setting. The sky had turned orange and red and purple, beautiful in the way that only desert sunsets could be. The heat was finally breaking, temperature dropping as the earth released the day's stored energy. Sloane sat on the factory steps, put the rifle across her knees, looked at the satellite phone in her hand. Rally Point Bravo was 15 kilometers east, 6 hours to get there. Hendricks had been clear, show up or be declared KIA. She could go, could follow orders, could let them sweep this under the rug like they'd swept 11 other deaths under the rug. She'd get a medal, probably, maybe a commendation. They'd spin it as a successful counter-terror operation. Kozak eliminated, mission accomplished, never mind the cost. Or she could disappear. Take the evidence, the photos, the satellite phone, the dog tags. Contact the media, go public. Expose what had been done here. Let the world know that the U.S. military had used its own soldiers as bait, had knowingly sacrificed them, had covered it up. But if she did that, she'd be court-martialed, dishonorably discharged, maybe prosecuted. Her career would be over. Her life, as she knew it, would be over. She looked at the dog tags in her hand. 3 sets. Thomas Maddox, her father, who'd told her to fight for something she believed in. Elias Sterling, her mentor, who died so she could live. Kozak's tags, the enemy, the monster, the man who'd been enabled by her own command. What would her father do? She knew the answer. He'd told her once, years ago, sitting on the back porch of their house in Virginia. They'd been talking about Abu Ghraib, about the soldiers who'd blown the whistle on prisoner abuse. Sometimes doing the right thing costs you everything, he'd said. Your career, your reputation, your freedom. But you do it anyway, because if you don't, you become part of the problem. Sloane looked at the satellite phone, at Rally Point Bravo's coordinates displayed on the screen. Then she opened the photo gallery, found Hendrix's number, composed a text message. She attached every photo she'd taken, the 11 bodies, the map with the red pins, Kozak's camp, the tunnel, the dog tags, everything. Then she typed, "This is SSGT Maddox. I'm not coming to Rally Point Bravo. I'm going to the media. I'm going to tell them everything. What you did, what you allowed to happen, all of it. You sacrificed 11 Marines and sailors. You let them die so you could clean up your mess quietly. That ends now." Her finger hovered over the send button. This was it, the moment. Send this message and her life was over. Everything she'd worked for, everything she'd built. But 11 families deserved the truth. 11 graves deserved to be found. 11 sets of dog tags deserved to go home. She pressed send. The message went through. Delivered. Red receipt. 3 dots appeared. Hendrix was typing. Then, "You're making a mistake, Maddox. Think about your future." She typed back, "I am. That's why I'm doing this." She powered off the phone, stood up, looked back at the factory one last time. "I'm sorry," she said to the building, to the ghosts inside, to Elias. "I'm sorry I didn't save you, but I swear I'll make them pay." Then she started walking, not toward Rally Point Bravo, toward the south, toward the nearest town, toward witnesses, toward people who could help her tell this story. The first drops of rain hit her face. It started as a sprinkle, just a few drops, then more, then a downpour. Rain. In the desert. The thing that came maybe once a year, if that. The thing that turned dust to mud and made the world smell like life instead of death. Sloane stopped walking, tilted her face up, opened her mouth. The water tasted like heaven. Cool. Clean. Washington away 3 days of blood and sand and death. She drank from the sky. Drank until her stomach hurt. Then she sat down in the middle of the dirt road and cried. For Elias. For her father. For 11 snipers she'd never met. For all of them. The rain fell harder, washing everything clean. The blood, the dust, the world. When she finally stopped crying, she stood up, picked up her rifle, and kept walking. Behind her, lightning flashed over the factory. Thunder rolled across the desert. The storm was getting worse. Good. Let it wash away this place. Let it flood the tunnel. Let it destroy the evidence that Hendrix would inevitably try to erase. She had her own evidence now. Photos, dog tags, the satellite phone with its call logs, and her testimony. It would be enough. It had to be enough. The congressional hearing room was packed. Media, military brass, families of the deceased. Sloane sat at the witness table, wearing her dress blues, the same uniform her father had been buried in. Senator Williams leaned forward. "Staff Sergeant Maddox, for the record, you're testifying that Major Daniel Hendrix knowingly sent multiple Marine and Navy sniper teams into a known kill zone." "Yes, ma'am." "And that he was in direct communication with the hostile actor responsible for their deaths." "Yes, ma'am. I have the satellite phone with call logs. I have photographs of the victims. I have their dog tags. She touched the metal hanging under her shirt. She wore all 11 sets now. The weight was immense. And I have my sworn testimony. Major Hendricks claims you're fabricating this story to cover your own failures in the field, that you abandoned your mission, that you let your commanding officer die through negligence. Master Gunnery Sergeant Sterling died protecting me so I could expose the truth. He died a hero, and I won't let them turn him into a scapegoat. Sloane's voice was steady. Ma'am, with respect, I'm not the one on trial here. They are. The senator nodded. No further questions. Sloane was led out of the hearing room by 2 Marines. Not under arrest, not exactly, but not free either. Her status was complicated. She disobeyed direct orders. Gone AWOL, contacted the media, violated operational security, but she'd also exposed the biggest military scandal in a decade. The hallway was full of families. They stood when they saw her. The mother of Marco Ramirez, the husband of Patricia Chen, the father of Terrence Johnson, all of them. They didn't say anything. They just nodded. Some of them were crying. Sloane nodded back. Outside the hearing room, her lawyer was waiting, a JAG officer who'd volunteered to defend her pro bono. They're offering a deal, he said. Plead guilty to insubordination and unauthorized disclosure. Take a general discharge under honorable conditions. Keep your benefits, no jail time. And Hendricks? Court-martial. Possibly federal charges. Multiple counts of dereliction of duty, conduct unbecoming, possibly even manslaughter. The lawyer smiled. You did it. You took down a major. Sloane thought about her father, about what he'd said about doing the right thing costing everything. She'd lost her career, her reputation, her future in the military. Everything she'd worked for since she was 17 years old. But 11 families had their answers now. 11 sets of dog tags would go home. 11 graves would be marked. 11 names would be remembered. I'll take the deal, she said. 3 months later, Sloane Maddox walked out of Marine Corps Base Quantico as a civilian. Discharged, no longer a Marine, no longer a sniper, just Sloane. She stood in the parking lot looking back at the base. 11 sets of dog tags hung around her neck. She'd carry them until each one was returned to its rightful family. It would take time. But she had time now. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Job offer, private security, Iraq, 6 figures. Interested? She deleted it. She was done with killing, done with war, done with all of it. Another text, this one from Patricia Chen's husband. Thank you for bringing her home. Thank you for telling the truth. You're a hero. Sloane stared at the message for a long time. She wasn't a hero. Heroes didn't survive while everyone else died. Heroes didn't have to choose between duty and conscience. But maybe that was the point. Maybe heroes weren't the ones who never made mistakes. Maybe heroes were the ones who did the right thing, even when it cost them everything. She typed back, "Your wife was the hero. I just made sure people knew it." Then she got in her truck and drove away from Quantico, away from the Marines, away from the life she'd known. She drove west, toward Virginia, toward home, toward her father's grave. She had 11 sets of dog tags to deliver, 11 stories to tell. 11 families who deserved to know their loved ones hadn't died in vain. It would take time, but time was something she had now. The rain started falling as she crossed into Virginia. She smiled, rolled down the window, let it wash over her. Some drops were heavier than others, but every drop counted, even the last one.